All right. We are live. Some pretty interesting things going on today with respect to what's going on in the stock market. Obviously, another insanely good day for Bitcoin as a result of the things going on in the US Treasury markets. Still a lot of developing news on that front. So, some pretty exciting things going on there. And as a result, we've seen really good results for Robinhood today, up above $108 a share. This is really exciting. This is some pretty insane stuff. Now, obviously, this is related to what the movement in Bitcoin is at the moment as well. But a lot of things are happening as a result of companies that offer alternatives to what's going on in the Treasury market. Now, a lot of the things that I also saw today with respect to what's going on, we saw a nice recovery for Reddit today, albeit, the market closed about 15 minutes ago. We were up roughly 2% on the trading day for Reddit. Definitely some exciting things going on that front. Definitely some nice recovery that we've seen there. The market was obviously acting very irrational. CoreWeave, another one of my high conviction bear plays at the moment, short plays, down 2% to $87 per share. We love seeing that with CoreWeave. And lots of exciting things on that front. Henry says, thoughts on Meta. Meta, I think today Meta did all right. With respect to the lawsuit that Meta is currently facing, obviously a little bit daunting, obviously a little bit scary. It could turn into nothing. But the thing is that with Meta, Henry, I'm not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg. I don't like his strategic vision, and I really don't like his plans for the company. Meta's fundamentals are absolutely fantastic. There's a ton of things to like about Meta, and there's a ton of things that they're doing extremely well. It's the amount of off-balance sheet activities as well as the strategic vision of Mark Zuckerberg. I really don't trust that much. Thoughts on FedEx for the long term? As far as FedEx is concerned, this isn't a stock that I follow that much. I would imagine that there's probably still some things to like about FedEx. It's cyclical, but it's probably a little bit boring as well. Based on just some metrics right here that we can see, it behaves like a defensive stock. We're at about 17 times earnings, and we get about a 1.5% yield out of it with a 1.4 beta. Year-to-date performance has been quite good for FedEx. That's the good news, and there's a lot of things to like about it. But with respect to it being an immediate play right now, it would require some more homework on my end. It could be pretty good. I'm not going to count FedEx out. I just know that there are other opportunities that I'm looking closely at. Do you think the Alibaba dip is fine, will recover, or should be worrying? I think Alibaba is probably going to be okay. That's not something that I'm super worried about. What about Bloom Energy? Bloom Energy is, as far as Bloom Energy as a company is concerned, I really like what they're doing. They're in an interesting niche. Their valuation is totally nuts. Bloom Energy definitely needs to fix a lot of things that they're working on. Well, I wouldn't say fix, but they need to prove out the viability of the business and the demand for it. So for Bloom Energy, I'm going to sit on the sidelines for it now. Could be an interesting play. There could be some really, really interesting moves on the stock in the future. Are we going to get back up above $300 a share like we were in June? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Could it be a good entry point? I'm not going to because it's too expensive. What do we think about Meta and the lawsuit? I honestly, Meta's like it's a C tier hyperscaler for me. I'm not super I don't love it. Do you think Warsh is going to be hawkish after Jackson Hole? No, I don't. I think that Warsh is basically letting the markets do the work for him. We're probably not going to hear a lot from Warsh either. He's pretty tight-lipped. He's famous for being tight-lipped. It's probably going to continue being that way. I think a lot of people are going to look into Jackson Hole for a lot of insight about what the Fed's going to do with respect to the Treasury's moves in the bond market. Honestly, they shouldn't get their hopes up, in my opinion. Broadcom Inc. Javi, I'm not a fan of Broadcom, especially after what Marvel announced with Google. Broadcom is basically getting its lunch eaten by its competitors at the moment. Not a big fan of it. Innodata's fine. They're doing some interesting stuff. As far as training AI models, I need to understand that a little bit more. The valuation seems a little bit high for Innodata, but it's on the sidelines for me. Is Macy's a good buy? How do we feel about Macy's? Macy's. Macy's is a value trap. Macy's has always been a value trap. This is a company that had I invested into Macy's in like 2018, and this is what its performance has been since. We'll go back 5 years as well. Macy's is not a good it's not an exciting business. They struggle to find market share where they can. It's tough. The good news about Macy's is that you get a nice yield out of it. This is a boring company. No, I'm not interested in Macy's. I'd steer clear of it. Fermi, Ben, I mean, Fermi, the one thing I want to know about Fermi is what real estate assets it owns. This is like, we have to get a better idea of what specific assets it has, what's the weighted average lease term on some of the projects that they're working on, as well as some of the assets, the power that they own. So, yeah, not a huge fan of it. How do I feel about CIFR? Cipher Digital. I remember briefly looking at these guys one time. I'm going to take a look at their profile, get a quick refresher. Through subsidiaries, operates industrial scale data centers for Bitcoin mining and high performance computing. Yeah, okay. So, for Cipher Digital, King Josh Allen, I just posted a deep dive into Strategy Inc., which is a Bitcoin company. They're a Bitcoin holding firm. For Strategy Inc., in my research that I learned, per Bitcoin, average mining costs, including physical capital, startup costs, overhead, and electricity, it's about $80,000, a little more than $80,000 to mine a Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin miners are operating at a loss. So if Cipher Digital is all in on mining Bitcoin, they're losing money, which makes sense because Yahoo Finance just reported that. And they're probably going to continue to lose money unless Bitcoin continues to go up. Obviously, it's been a really, really fantastic week for Bitcoin, but it's not enough. So the thing that they need to do with their compute is probably train AI models. That's the wise thing. Thoughts on TTWO? Logan, it's one of my favorite bull plays at the moment. Huge fan of Take-Two Interactive. Did I see what the Micron CEO said? D, I did not. What did they say? Let me know what they said. Thoughts on Marvel Technology? A bit expensive for my taste, Mark, but there's reasons to like them more than Broadcom, especially the partnership that they announced with Google. Is it time to invest in Bitcoin? So that's the tough thing, is a lot of indicators push us towards saying yes, it could be a good time to invest in Bitcoin despite the absolutely insane week Bitcoin has had. But the thing is we need to get a good understanding of where macro factors are going to end up going to move the price of Bitcoin. Because the price of Bitcoin what controls the price of Bitcoin is its limited supply. It's the mining costs, as well as interest rates, Federal Reserve policy, strength of the dollar, these types of things, and as well as investor attention. So we have to look at transaction volume in Bitcoin and the price of liquidity in other mediums of exchange. If we see low interest rates, high transaction costs, as well as maybe a very, very dovish Fed, and we also see electricity costs come down, then Bitcoin starts to become more interesting. So, I don't know. As far as Bitcoin's concerned, I'd probably... There are ways to get into Bitcoin and relatively low risk ways. Do I expect it to go up or down short term? I think Bitcoin's going to continue going up short term. Thoughts on ServiceNow? Toby, I think ServiceNow is a hold unless I didn't see where it went today. All right, yeah, down 1% today. My exit price for ServiceNow, if I'm a shareholder of ServiceNow, is $135 a share. Jackson on YouTube says, thoughts on the market as a whole? I feel like we keep seeing big days constantly growing. You think it'll pull back in the near future? Jackson, I think we're probably in this. This feels like the late 6th, early 7th inning of a bull market right now. So I do think that we're probably going to see more growth and more inflation in asset prices overall. But we are in a bubble. I think we're in a bubble. I think the bubble is going to continue growing for a little while. And as far as defining timelines, that's also another factor. Evan, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. What about Ondas? Jay Smith says Ondas. Can we take a look at that? Yes, we can, and it looks like they had a good day. I like Ondas. I think drones are an exciting game. I think they're in an interesting spot. But with Ondas, one thing I'm a little concerned about is their economies of scale and how they're going to nail down some very large defense contracts. That's what they need. That's what they need to win. We're in the seventh inning for sure. It feels that way, Matthew. It feels like it's the seventh inning. So as far as like what's going to end up happening with the stock market, hard to say. Micron CEO said memory isn't a commodity anymore. You can't make AI smarter without it. Memory is not a commodity anymore. Was memory ever a commodity? It's an interesting take. I mean, I don't think they're wrong about, I mean, AI, like, models need massive amounts of RAM in order to work. I mean, okay. Like, I don't see anything super controversial, but I don't hear anything super groundbreaking about that either. Andrew, can you take a look at Matt? Yes, we can, Evan, absolutely. Mattel, the toy maker. Interesting. Mattel, the toy maker. I haven't even looked at this company in a long time. Consumer cyclical, 31,000 employees. Designs, manufactures, markets, sells toys, games, and other products. So they own the Barbie brand, Disney Princess. They own Disney Frozen, or at least manufacture that stuff. K-pop Demon Hunters, Hot Wheels, Fisher-Price stuff, and they also have some other things like Jurassic World, Minecraft, WWE, Toy Story, Star Wars, all kinds of fun. Yeah. All right, so we get it. Mattel, how are they as an investment? This will actually be interesting to look at. Looking at their fundamentals, revenue looks pretty good year over year, pretty thin margin. The balance sheet looks a little heavy. Evan, I'd like to know what you really think. Like, what's exciting about this? It's a consumer cyclical that has had consistent revenue and consistent margins year over year, and the balance sheet health really hasn't changed that much. And it looks like they might be free cash flow positive. So what's cool about these guys? I mean, I could get why they're trading at a pretty low PE. No dividend either. I mean, it's a consumer cyclical that behaves like a defensive stock. It's not super exciting, if I'm being honest. Take-Two Interactive considering GTA 6 release. Yes, I'm very bullish on Take-Two Interactive. Love it. What about AppLovin? A lot of people have asked me about AppLovin. Like, what's going on with AppLovin? What do we think of this? I'm probably going to do my next deep dive video on AppLovin. A lot of people have been asking me to do one, especially after what happened last month. Or earlier this month, I should say, with AppLovin after their Q2 earnings, which was a total disaster. So it kind of then becomes the question, should we think about maybe getting in? Is this a good buy the dip opportunity? I'm not 100% sure yet. I need to do the homework on it. There's some decent fundamentals with AppLovin. They did get bad guidance, though, which is why there was such a big negative reaction. Was that an overreaction, though? That's the question. And I think that's worth asking. So, Dan, as far as AppLovin getting in now, on paper, maybe. We're paying for a pretty high beta, though, but price to earnings isn't too bad on a trailing 12-month basis. And as far as a quick look at AppLovin's fundamentals, things don't look too bad. In fact, they look pretty good on a year-over-year basis. Quarter-over-quarter, they seem fine, too. Like, they're in digital marketing. They have insane margins of 66%. That's good. That's very good. So growth is the concern about AppLovin. The question then becomes, is the market overreacting to the growth story? What do you think about the GTA 6 leaks and affect the stock? Well, it hasn't. I mean, I briefly looked at that news. I'm not super excited about it. Wendy's? What about Wendy's? Wendy's had a fun little meme phase there after it got some attention from Wall Street Bets. Are we going to see like a massive short squeeze on Wendy's? I mean, I don't know. 34% of the float is being shorted right now for Wendy's. So are we going to see a big short squeeze? Like, that's part of the reason why Moderna blew up the other day, is because there was a really big short squeeze. It's fundamentally speaking, it's kind of slow. It's kind of boring. It's not ideal. It's a real estate play in a lot of ways. I'll sit on the sidelines for it. I think one thing that's really worth paying attention to is digging into as much outside research as you can to see maybe if there's a short squeeze that could happen. I don't know. That's really hard to call, and that's really hard to find out. So maybe hang on to it. I mean, I wouldn't sell it, but you're paying an opportunity cost by hanging on by selling it, or by not selling it, I should say. InnoData's fine. Valuation's a little high for me. What's my major corporate career? I bachelor's in economics, MBA in finance, and then did FP&A, corporate FP&A for a while as a financial analyst, and then got into asset management for a REIT, and did capital markets and investor relations for a little while. Intuit. Intuit's interesting. Is Intuit worth a buy? They've had a good month. They've had a really good month. This one may continue to kind of fly under the radar for a while because it's still, in a lot of senses of the word, it's still cheap. So the question then becomes, is the market going to continue to ignore them? It's been a bad year for the company. Don't get me wrong. It becomes a question of where they're going to grow, what the growth story is. It could be pretty good. There's valuable assets on their balance sheet. There's definitely valuable assets on Intuit's balance sheet. This is on my short list of next deep dives. AppLovin might edge it out. I think AppLovin's recent story is a little more interesting. This is definitely worth doing homework on. As far as getting into Intuit right now, hard to say. So far, it's been good. Reddit. For Reddit, I'm a fan of it. Very bullish on Reddit. Amazing fundamentals, amazing growth. I did a deep dive on them recently. It's an extremely strong business. Some people believe that GTA 6 won't live up to the hype. Well, there's a reason why their management didn't release pre-order numbers in the second quarter report. It's because it broke records. And honestly, that was a wise move. They're saying they haven't seen numbers like this. I think that's a wise move. Both from a fundamental perspective and for the stock's price. I think we'll see a major breakout with Take-Two, especially after November. Can we look at STRL, Sterling Infrastructure? Yeah, we can. What part of the infrastructure game do they play on? Okay, they're construction. Infrastructure, transportation, building solutions. Okay. Site development for blue chip end users, distribution, data center, manufacturing, warehousing. Yep, that's probably where they're seeing a lot of their growth. And then they do all kinds of other stuff. Like roads, bridges, airports, rails, storm drainage, transit, ports. Cool. I'd imagine we'll probably see pretty thin margins from these guys. 37 PE. Yep. Growing margins, though, at least on a year-over-year basis, and growing quarter-over-quarter. Yeah, so a good company to compare this one to is Vistra, to see how they compare. These guys look like they have a better margin. It's for a construction company, this is a pretty high valuation. I think the growth has been priced in for them. And as far as determining what their growth may end up looking like, looking at their backlog isn't super difficult. So for Sterling Infrastructure, I mean, am I going to get in at this price? Maybe. There could be reason to like it, but we've seen a lot of this very, very large second and early third quarter spike in stock prices and companies involved in the AI supply chain. What about Intel? Intel is too expensive, way too expensive. even at $90 a share, and even where it's currently trading, it's going to take a long time to turn Intel around. Very long term, I'm bullish on Intel, but there's a lot of things to like about it. Amazon seems like they're in a great position for AI robotics. Amazon, I'd call it is like just above average as far as hyperscalers are concerned. There's a lot of things to like about Amazon. What should someone who's going to get their CPA instead of accounting what should someone who's going to get their CPA and instead of do accounting, what should I do instead? Well, if you want to get your CPA, you should do accounting. You shouldn't major in anything else if you want a CPA. Andrew, do you think we'll see a rotation back to the stock market next week? Well, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Well, I'd imagine we'll probably see different movements in the NASDAQ and Dow. Things can change pretty quick, given what bond market conditions look like, though. Things can change quite quickly. So that's the main thing. I'm thinking of rebuying TTW. I feel like it's too high right now. I don't think so at all. I really like it at this price. I liked it at $205 a share. I love it at $240 a share. Do I think SK Hynix is undervalued? J-Man, they're pretty aggressive about their buybacks. That was pretty interesting, that buyback that they announced. The fundamentals are there for SK Hynix. They have extremely strong revenue growth as well as their profitability, all these types of things. So there's a ton of things to like about SK Hynix. What ends up happening in Korea, though, like, have we seen the worst with KOSPI in Korean markets? Things can change. Things can change pretty quickly. So despite the fact that we have a low PE and a relatively high beta, things could whipsaw pretty hard for SK Hynix. There's a lot of support. Yeah, a lot of support. There's a lot of things to like about SK Hynix. I'm definitely hanging on to shares if I own shares in SK Hynix, though. Thoughts on buying Reddit? Love it, love it at this price, Easton. CJ on YouTube says, Andrew, what stocks have you been looking at for your homework? CJ, I just posted my deep dive on Strategy Inc. on my YouTube channel. Just did my deep dive on these guys. This is a pretty interesting play. Obviously, they've had a ton of movement over the last couple weeks. I really, really didn't like this company at first. After I did my deep dive, it's not as... Strategy Inc. in a lot of ways, CJ, is not a business. This ticker is almost not a business. It's a treasury management operation. This company raises money from outside investors and buys a shit ton or a lot of Bitcoin with it, a ton of Bitcoin. And they basically are bullish on the price of Bitcoin and liquidate some of it and return it back to investors in the form of dividends or coupon payments. So obviously, this stock price is tied very, very close to what the price of Bitcoin is. Now, it's just a question of where's the price of Bitcoin going to go? Ton of things can move the price of Bitcoin. So, and it can whipsaw pretty hard. Even like a 3.5 beta, I think is almost too small. Their cash flow situation is pretty strange too. It could be a good long play term. I think it's worth holding. But the thing you got to be careful with this company is that their management has to maintain a very, very tricky balance of returning capital to investors and maintaining the timing on their debt schedule, as well as what their investors do with respect to exercising options of whether converting, convertible notes to common equity or preferred shares to common equity. It can get pretty weird. Any thoughts on Vistra? Dan, Vistra, solid business, really strong performance. I think that their backlog will come to fruition. Thin margins, though. I think that it's appropriately valued. We could see 160 with Vistra. Do I own Reddit? Yes, Easton, I do. Yes, I own Reddit. Robinhood? Robinhood's in an interesting spot. Obviously, There's some great news from Robinhood just because of the price of Bitcoin and where it's been moving. This is a pretty huge move, though. I mean, up 13%. I'd be curious to see what the technicals look like and what the oversell momentum is for Robinhood and what volume looks like. We'll see. We'll see with Robinhood. Would I get in at this price? Probably not. Probably not. SLS thoughts. Okay, a ton of people have been asking me about SELLAS Life Sciences. And a lot of people have been talking about how SELLAS Life Sciences is basically the next in line for a big move like how we saw with Moderna. I don't understand that science well enough to know if I think this is worth making a move. It very well could. I could end up eating my words in a month, and we could see this stock at $50 a share. Fundamentally speaking, it's in a lot of ways it's an all or nothing play, but understanding the science and the total accessible market and the costs of bringing those vaccines or drugs and things that they're working on to market is, requires somebody with a strong understanding of the underlying biology. We going higher with Bitcoin? I think so. Max, we could in the near future, but things can whipsaw pretty hard with Bitcoin. I mean, if we see interest rates, spike out of nowhere, or if conditions in the treasury market improve, or we're seeing a strengthening dollar, I don't know. What corporate job do I wish I had done? None. I like my career. I'm pretty proud of my career. Do I own Reddit? Yes, Easton, I do. Yep. I own it. What about IREN? Yeah, IREN's an interesting one, but I'm not bullish on NeoClouds. I don't love NeoClouds. This is not like... I like how they're trying to use renewable energy to make it happen, to hopefully bring down some costs. It's tough. It's tough for me to get this. It's too expensive. Did I buy SpaceX? I did buy SpaceX at the IPO, and then I got out 48 hours later, or less than 48 hours later. Got in on SpaceX at like 155, got out at 220. That was I was staring at my phone that entire time, watching the stock very closely. Boston Scientific. Yeah, the fundamentals are here for Boston Scientific. Obviously they've had a pretty rough year. The question then becomes, is this a buy the dip opportunity? It could be. They've got a lot of things that they're doing and a lot of different lines of products. The problem is that will Boston Scientific, will that play out, and what's their growth story? I need to take a look at their books. Haven't seen it. I need to, though. It could be a good one. Jared says, I just got an offer letter for SpaceX, 10,500 stocks. Should I keep going for long term? I mean, if you think so, Jared, yeah. It'd probably be a cool place to work, too. W9 on YouTube says, STRC is supposed to be pegged at 100 and they pay 11% per year. Yeah. So with STRC, I mean, they pay 11.5%. And that's the preferred redemption value per share. The other thing too with STRC is it? No, it's not STRC. There's I think it's is it STRC? One of them has an exercise option for a tenth of Class A common equity. Obviously, we would need to see this price come down quite a bit, but this equity tranche puts the most pressure on the company, as from a cash management perspective, because they're quarterly dividends and they got to pay them up. CoreWeave dip, yeah, good. Not nearly enough. This is not a good business. CoreWeave needs to come down like way more. Yeah, not a good company at all. Not a fan of them. Thoughts on FPS, company that manufactures electrical equipment and data centers? Wilt, I believe you asked about these guys before, Forge and Power. One thing that warrants investigation is why you would pay, if this number is real, a PE, a trailing 12-month PE of nearly 1,700. That's worth some investigation, and it's also worth figuring out if that's even real. It feels expensive. CoreWeave's not a good business. Why? Alkaline, there's several reasons. The first is that CoreWeave's position as a company relies entirely on the scalability and profitability of AI. The other thing, too, is that the pricing power for GPU compute is eroding. CoreWeave is going to have less and less control over the price that they will be able to demand for the services that they offer just because of all the other CapEx development that we're seeing. A lot of the other data centers that are being built aren't finished yet. The second is that CoreWeave competes with its own customers. So a lot of companies that rely on CoreWeave's current compute, those customers are building out their own. That means it has very low quality of revenue and low quality of earnings. Also, most of the company's revenue only comes from 4 customers. That's bad. That's not good at all. And then the worst of it is the debt situation. CoreWeave has an immense amount of debt and a massive amount of interest expense it has to pay on all that. Isn't Nebius the same? Nebius basically is, in a lot of ways. Nebius is not a good company either. TTWO, Alex, I like TTWO. Yes, I'm bullish on TTWO. What about MP Materials? MP Materials, yeah. Exciting stuff that happened with them today. A lot of exciting things going on in the rare earth space. I believe USAR had a good day too. There's things to like about MP. I know that the MP's focus, yeah, nice, up 12.5% today. I knew I should have gotten in on this. With MP Materials, I think their focus is more on like superconducting magnets. I liked USAR a little bit more because they're going after more rare earths or a different variety of rare earths. But both interesting plays at the moment. Both worth looking at. Both worth doing the homework on. AppLovin, it's an interesting story, David. There's a lot of things to like. Is it a buy the dip opportunity? That might be next week's deep dive. How about TeraWulf? Another meh. Like mid. Don't love it, honestly. Like what's like no. Iren, no. Iren's a no. TeraWulf's a no. Nebius, no. CoreWeave, no. NeoClouds are no. ServiceNow, I think it's a hold at this price, Joe. If it breaks out above 135, it could be a good sale. I would take profits at least. How high will TTWO go? My target price is 285 at the moment. It could go up. It could definitely go up from there. What about Snowflake? Yeah, how is Snowflake doing? Dang. They've had a good day. Good revenue growth. I need to look into Snowflake's books more and get a better understanding of their revenue streams and the quality of those revenue streams. They've had a good year, though. Definitely a lot of things to like about Snowflake. I mean, I like this earnings report. They knocked it out of the park. Pretty exciting stuff. The question then becomes, is it too late? We'll see. Earnings are soon. Yeah, worth paying attention to. Definitely worth paying attention to. SoFi's up. Interesting, really. How's SoFi doing? Okay. Up 5%, but yeah. So here's the thing. You got to put SoFi into context. If you've been sitting between 15 and $20 a share since February, this market's saying something, I think. It still can't break 20. Yeah, we got stiff resistance at $20 a share for SoFi. It's not. I don't see it breaking out above that level. There could be some. It's going to be an event driven move, I think, and it's going to be something that, and specifically guessing what that event would be is very hard to do. I'm probably not that interested. SoFi's boring. It's not that interesting to me. Really not that interesting to me. How about SRFM? Surf Air Mobile. Oh wait, yeah. Yep. Nope, this is another micro crap I avoid. Nope. Avoiding this. Not a single stock, but interested in your thoughts on the German economy. Man, that's a good question. As far as my position on the German economy, I don't have a ton of strong thoughts. I need to learn more about it though. I think the problem with the one issue I see with the German economy, I know that rates are a bit of a problem there, and growth is extremely slow. And those are a lot of things that I know that change over time. But as far as my thoughts on the German economy, I know that they're absolute titans of engineering and certain industries. There's a ton of things that what the Germans do is extremely important. Need to learn more about the economy, their economy though. Celsius. Celsius is Celsius did something weird that I don't like recently. Oh wow, they're up another 2.5% today. Here's what I don't like what Celsius did. So a bad guidance. The market sniffed it out. Bad earnings report. Sales growth slow down. Inventory turnover problems. Some concerning things out of Celsius. And then it rebounded and went up. So back when it was over here, we were trading at a relatively reasonable like 65 PE. Right here, we're up to 150. What? So wait a second. On an earnings basis, the company is more than twice as valuable as it was, despite the fact that we had a revenue miss and slowdown in growth and kind of bad guidance. What? No, not a fan. So I honestly, I'm avoiding Celsius. Revaluations in general, they've done poorly in the past 10 years. Because the play around REITs is the dividend. It's not about trying to make money on an actual position in REIT. It's an income producing asset. That's it. That's the play for REITs. So I don't buy. I own shares in a REIT, but I own it not because of the price. I own it because of the yield. That's it. What stocks am I a fan of then? I'm a fan of Reddit, fan of Take-Two Interactive. I think Strategy Inc. is in an interesting position right now. It's had an extremely good week, but that's not because of better business fundamentals. It's just because of what's going on with Bitcoin. Elf Cosmetics is another good one that I called. And nice. This is actually awesome to see. My target price, so I did my deep dive on Elf Cosmetics back in July, like middle of July. It's about 72 or 73 a share back then. My target price after I published that video for Elf Cosmetics was $100 a share. So it's very, very good to see them pass that mark. As far as getting into Elf now, still could be okay, but I think most of the upside has already been captured at this point. Cellbrite, Bharat, I think we looked at this yesterday. Yes, this is the Israeli company, no? Yeah. Their margins are thin. As far as like data extraction and security stuff that they do, it's pretty thin margins. Hyperliquid, W. Pruda, I need a ticker. About Mag 7, there's a lot to like about the Mag 7. Microsoft is my favorite out of them. Microsoft's my favorite hyperscaler. It's my favorite Mag 7 stock. There's a ton of things to like about Microsoft. Google's also there. The thing that I'm concerned with about Google, though, is their off-balance sheet commitments are getting a little scary. Fermi's not super interesting, to be honest. I mean, I'd have to go look at the assets that they have and what the weighted average lease terms are, but there are better REITs. Ray asks, what do you think about Netflix, Apple, and Tesla? Ray, love Apple, probably never selling my shares. Netflix is I'm on the fence about Netflix. The Q2 report scared me a little bit. So with respect to what happened with Netflix, I still need to do my homework on it, and not a fan of Tesla. I don't buy automotive companies I don't think are good ones. Not a big fan of it. Do I like Amazon? Yeah, I think Amazon's a good one. I like Amazon. Apple is a good moat, and they print money from their service side. They absolutely do. I don't see a reason to ever sell my shares in Apple. PURR. Okay. Hyperliquid strategies. All right. Yeah, digital asset treasury company focused on the cryptocurrency sector. Okay, so what coin? Is it like Ethereum? What's their Hyperliquid is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's a cute name. Pretty crazy year they've had. It's a trading platform, they thought. Well, it sounds like they bought a ton of we're seeing some movement in some sort of cryptocurrency that they're purchasing. I mean, this is just it's basically Strategy Inc., but probably a different coin. Maybe Ethereum, maybe something else. Hyperliquid's a trading platform, is it? The company provides, digital asset treasury company, right? I mean, I literally just posted a deep dive today on one of those. Investors' exposure to Hype token. Oh, Hype. Okay, I missed that. Staking and yield optimization with the Hyperliquid ecosystem. It's interesting, but as far as a Hype token, I'd need to know like what makes that different than something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. What about Nike? How does Nike look? No, not BKE, NKE. Not a bad day for Nike. We're seeing very stiff support for Nike at around the $40 per share level. There's a lot of Nike bears at the moment. I'm a Nike bull. I know that's not popular at the moment. I don't care. There's a lot of things to like about what Nike's changing. Their positives are massively overlooked. Everybody's talking about how On and Hoka's are stealing their market share, what they have, and their problems in China. They're turning things around, though, I think. I think they can turn things around. Nike Bull also. Yeah. Apple, Ford, Intel, UUUU. Or APLD, Ford, Intel, UU. APLD, absolutely not. The amount of money this company's losing is hilarious. Nope, not a fan of this at all. Ford, probably the most boring stock of all time. Here's Ford. Since it started trading in 1985, we briefly got above $30 a share during the dot-com bubble, and it's only broken $20 a share once in the past 2.5 decades, and that was in the middle of COVID. Nope, not Ford. And then the other ones. What were the other ones? Missed them. Wait, don't know what else that person said. Yeah, not good. Ford is very easy to trade for 10% returns every 2 to 3 weeks. Boring but easy profit. That sounds like you're paying a lot of capital gains though. At least frequently. INOD, Innodata. Innodata is cool. I need to understand their business a little bit better though. And how exactly they train AI models and what makes them different. It's been a good year for them though. It's been decent. This spike we saw at a lot of companies though in the AI supply chain, at least in the late May June activity, but I need to understand the business a little bit better. AMD and IREN is absolutely not, no way. Neoclouds as a business model are silly. So don't get me wrong, there will be winners and there will be losers. IREN I would imagine IREN might be a winner in the Neocloud game. Still too expensive. AMD, I don't get why you buy shares in AMD when you can buy shares in Nvidia. Like someone needs to help me understand why AMD is worth investing in when I can just buy shares in Nvidia. Tesla 391 Trader TV blocked me for calling this on their live. Is Tesla going to 391? It might. More growth potential for AMD. Well, the market certainly has that priced in at a 120 trailing 12-month PE. You can get Nvidia for a quarter of that. So no, I don't get it. Volkswagen, I don't buy automotive companies. No, I don't buy no GM, no Ford, no Tesla, no Rivian, none of it. No Lucid. I'm not a fan of automotive companies. ServiceNow, I think ServiceNow is a hold at current prices. Yep. Hey guys, I gotta run. Unfortunately, I have to call it early because I need to head out. But I appreciate everyone joining. I'm sorry for the short stream today. It was only 45 minutes. But I will be back next week. So for those of you who are hanging out for the first time here, I stream every day during the week, Monday to Friday, for about 2 hours from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So apologize. I started late. Got to cut it short as well. Have some things I needed to take care of. But I appreciate everyone hanging out. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you hit the follow button if you haven't already. Because, if I missed your question, I apologize, but maybe I can get you next week when I go live next. And for those of you who did get your question answered, but maybe weren't satisfied with what I said, maybe wanted something more in depth, more detail, that kind of stuff, go to my YouTube channel. That's where I posted my deep dives. I just posted a deep dive video today on Strategy Inc. The ticker is MSTR. Definitely go worth looking at. Jimbo, first time from the UK. I think you have to look at Reddit. Jimbo, if you're more curious, I got my deep dive on Reddit. Go check it out. It's all up there. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everyone joining. Had a ton of fun talking today, despite how short the conversation was. And I'll be back next week. In the meantime, everyone have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you soon. Take care.